If you've ever wondered whether it's too late to start something new, step into a new space or claim your spot in a sport that wasn't built with you in mind, this episode is for you. We'll be talking about what it takes to break barriers, build community, and stay in the game long enough to create legacy. And it's not just about rowing, it's about access, it's about identity, and it's about what happens when someone decides to build the thing they wish had already existed. Greetings and welcome to the Elevated Flo Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Flo, aka the Black Rowing Queen. The Elevated Flo Podcast spotlights elite and everyday female athletes, mostly over 40, sharing how they elevate their game and their flow in sports, wellness, work, and life. These are powerful stories of strength, resilience, wisdom, and inspiration to help women stay active, age strong, and pass the torch to the next generation. Today, I have with me a very special guest, someone that we're going to call the Harriet Tubman of rowing. Please help me welcome Miss Brannon Johnson to the Elevated Flo Podcast. Welcome, welcome. How are you today?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Awesome. I am so excited that you agreed to be on the podcast. I know you're not one to do many podcasts, but I thank you. I thank you for giving me the honor. Well, I truly appreciate you. Well, let me give you a formal introduction. Miss Brannon Johnson is a Philadelphia native, lifelong rower, and founder and head coach of BLJ Community Rowing, one of the most diverse and impactful community rowing programs in the country. With over 15 years of experience, she has introduced more than 1,500 individuals ages 8 to 80 to the sport of rowing. Brannon began rowing at the age of 15 through the Fairmont Park Community Rowing Program, quickly rising as a competitive single sculler. She trained at Boston University's elite summer program and earned top finishes at premier events, including the Stotesbury Regatta and Philadelphia City Championships. Her success led to a full athletic scholarship at the University of Texas, where she competed at the Division I varsity level for 4 years. In 2003, she raced internationally at the prestigious Henley Royal Regatta in England. In 2013, Brannon founded BLJ Community Rowing, known as a boathouse without walls, to provide access to rowing for the Black community she grew up in, just minutes from the Schuylkill River. What began as a Learn to Row initiative has grown into a nationally recognized, the first Black-owned rowing organization focused on access, equity, and community engagement. Brandon's work has been featured in the Philadelphia Inquirer, Good Morning America, The Unlevel Playing Field, and through BLJ, she continues to redefine who belongs on the water while building a lasting legacy of inclusion in the sport of rowing. All right, so we talked about this a little before we got started, but take us back. 15 years old, you started rowing. How did you get introduced to the sport?
Just to learn to row. So the Mayor Street at the time was a Black mayor who was an avid cyclist, and he didn't see anybody Black on the water, so he kind of challenged the city to do something about that. And my parents signed me up for a Learn to Row, and yeah, we played basketball more than we rowed actually, which is ironic. But somehow I got in a boat and it kind of clicked, so it kind of made sense. And, it's really fun to coach now when I see it click for a kid or when I see it click for an adult. It's just one of those aha moments, and it's really can't explain it when they get it. So, I really enjoy watching people do that. But it clicked, and, I started training, started racing in high school. And yeah, I was in a boat every day for the next 8 years. I trained all through high school, got recruited, went to university, went to UT, trained under Carrie Graves for 4 years, and then, kept pushing. And yeah, I think rowing is a really brutal sport. I think specifically for Black kids, I think it gives you a really rugged work ethic, and I think it'll help you extract what you need out of a society not set up for you. So, I think I'm really tough on my kids. I love my masters because they mentor me, because my masters are all older than me. And, they really have bought into the mission and they really help support the kids.
Okay.
And my kids, we're super tough because if we're gonna do everything we can to give you a shot, and you better take it or else I'll kill you.
Now, what made you pick rowing over basketball?
I'm always terrible at basketball. I was actually ballerina.
Mm,
So yeah, I thought I was gonna be the next Judith Jameson.
okay.
Yeah, I was a ballerina. I was obsessed with ballet, and definitely started audition for Alvin Ailey, Flodenko. But I wanted, living in the inner city. I really wanted to travel. I really wanted to.
Mm,
I wanted to see something different. And rowing, I could make money at it. Where I was getting offered full rides from Wisconsin University, San Diego. I mean, colleges were knocking and offering full rides, and I was like, oh, Judith, I don't want to be a starving artist. And and my dad wasn't having it. My parents were not having it either. They were like, "You're gonna go where the money is." I think my mom would have preferred me to dance just because I would have been closer to home, and I think she just knew it was my first love. But I think my dad saw the business and saw the mechanism that rowing was and a vehicle it could become. And I think, yeah. So 20 plus years later, he was
wow.
right. He still talks about it. That's for sure. He
That's
was
awesome.
right.
At what point did you feel like you were not just participating, that you were actually competing?
I compete all the
So,
time.
but when you said earlier that you were the only one with your coach, how did you were
So that's the thing about growing up in Philly, right? There's a regatta every weekend.
mm,
Yeah, so I was racing every weekend. Yeah, you're lining up. And there was a girl, Agnes Irwin always puts out always a fast girl sculling program. Agnes Irwin, Conestoga. There's just some fast sculling schools. And I mean, I was throwing down with these girls. I mean, this Agnes Irwin girl, she won one week, I'd win the next week. Then I hated her. Literally. We would bloody each other every week. But she made me fast. She really did. And so competing was such an I think that's one of the positive things about growing up in Philly, right? Philadelphia is a rowing mecca. So one of the positive things is competing is a foundational point of your training because you're competing every weekend, right?
mm,
My boys are racing Sunday.
okay,
Yeah,
okay,
there's a regatta, like literally PSRA. We're competing every weekend. So, we have a race next Sunday and the Sunday after that. So, you know what I mean?
wow,
Constantly every year, you race on Sunday and then you're right back out there on the water Tuesday, putting down pieces and trying to make it better, looking at what you did wrong, how to fix it. But yeah, competing was absolutely a part of my career very early on. And I think, when people come and visit and ask to come and train, I think they're a little bit surprised by that, just the sheer level of work, because I do think, we are at that place now where we do have, some college kids that want to come and train with us and they like, but they're surprised when they get into singles and these high school kids are faster than them. But it's like, because
mm,
if you think you're gonna come here and get in a boat and train once a day, you're not gonna do well here. You know what I mean? Like, you're training, we're in a boat 2, 3 times a day, you're helping
wow,
kids, you're carrying stuff, and you have to train on top of that. And, we really hit it hard. And I think I'm so adamant about the building a relationship with the work. Right. I think in this age of social media, everybody thinks it's just a reel and you're doing everything for the gram. And it's like, no, you have to build a relationship with the work. It takes serious, serious, serious time and serious, serious work to get serious, serious speed. So yeah, I'm really, really pretty strict about that. And, I think people come and I think they think, they see other boys, I see everybody running around and just having fun. They don't realize the amount of work that really is. And, I work a 15-hour day. I'll be on my launch 9 hours straight, easy.
wow, really?
Because I've got to coach the kids, we've got adults coming in, I've got people that work from home who can come in the middle of the day, I've got people who can only come at night because they have work. I mean, I will be on my lunch for 9 hours, especially in the summer. Then we have
Mm,
in the rows on top of that, corporate trainings on top of that. The city just asked us to do a Love Your Park Week event. You know what I mean? So we really have, a breadth of, things that we do. And I think, one of the reasons why we lasted as long is because we're very serious. I've
mhm,
always been very serious. I really love that the kids don't pay, but at the same time, they know. the money coming in is money going to them, so they are participating. They want to
That's
contribute.
awesome.
Bottom line, we're not a nonprofit, and if I don't have the money to pay for that new single you need, that means you need to get out there and hustle and start doing some lessons. Let's go. So I think it creates it creates a culture that
Mhm.
yeah, it creates a culture of work that I think is a good pace for how when you leave me, you will be able to you will be able to work hard. You're gonna know what that means, and I think you're gonna be able to do well in a society that's not really set up for you. And I think that's
Right.
the thing, right, for us.
And I think that's what's beautiful about rowing is that it does help you outside. It goes beyond the sport itself and really teaches you the resilience and especially just participating in it as a black person that it wasn't designed for you and like you just said the society isn't either. So
Nope.
it really helps you to succeed in that or it
Mm.
builds the resilience for you to have some success. What would you say that you what was training at Boston University's elite program like for you?
Boston is tough. Boston is tough. I think Boston prepared me for UT. I think just getting plugged into this, team of 40 plus white girls and learning, the social aspect,
Mm.
learning, the politics, if the coach doesn't like you and what that means, team selection and seat racing and, you know, getting ranked to your erg score and then trying to get out there and beat and fight for your seat. I think Boston made me tough. You really have to there wasn't anybody to protect me. There was nobody there looking out for me. You know what I mean? I think I had to go and I think I think you need those moments in life like just do or die, now I think I'm actually grateful for my time at Texas and my time in Boston and traveling and getting to just race around the world and really see. I think it informed the kind of organization I wanted to create and getting to
Yeah.
see. But really got a front row seat to what everyone is doing all the time. And now I know what to do differently in order to get
Mhm.
different results. And I think I definitely stand 10 toes down on that. If you run by, you're going to see people running around on the dock and you're going to see the kids slap boxing each other and you're going to see my masters with glasses of wine after their practice and you're going to hear music and we're very black and I love it, and black owned doesn't mean black only. We got white people. We have non-practicing white people that are in there with us, drinking rum and cokes and throwing down too.
You
And
said non-practicing white people?
I call them non-practicing white people. Yeah, we have a very practicing white people don't do too good around us. They really don't. They really don't. They'll show themselves to the door before I have to. That's for sure.
Okay.
You won't make it. You won't make it. You won't make it. We are black.
Wow.
I think, yeah, but I think, like it looks different and it feels different and, it should because it is different. But that doesn't mean that I'm not serious about speed. That doesn't mean that I'm not, constantly thinking about how we can get better. Now I can be much more relaxed with my masters because, we're not out here trying to get scholarships and we're not out here trying to go to, masters nationals. They just want to have a good time and they really love working. They love instilling into the kids. I think I'm very
Right.
serious about my youth program, because I know better than them how little time they have to really get competitive. So, that's really, we really tighten it up and we're very serious with the kids. But, yeah, when you step on our dock, it's just a different feel. And
That's awesome. Now, you talked about getting offered full rides at so many different colleges. Why Texas?
so Texas, because it was the furthest away, I
Well, what
had,
about San Diego?
well, San Diego, I struggled in school. So the reality was I'm dyslexic and I'm severely ADHD. So I really struggled in school. UT has the football team and the basketball team are all black at UT and the support staff is phenomenal. So, and the thing
Okay.
about full rides that people don't realize is you have to keep a certain GPA.
Right.
So I was very worried about that, and I think that, they had the supportive mechanism for University of Texas athletics just because they have so much money. is
Mm,
phenomenal. So, I mean, if I was failing on a class, I had tutors that would go to class with me.
mm,
I got to double major in psychology and dance, which I loved. And, I mean, my senior year, I was doing independent studies, which was just me and my professor
mm.
and African American Studies department. I
Wow,
think UT had a really great African American Studies department, and I got to make some really great friends there because it's like so. Even at this very white institution, I had a very black experience.
that's awesome.
And I was going to this all white team, but like, my professors were all black and, so that was really wonderful. I think women's athletics got me a very, very good black tutor. And then my administrator was black. So it was just like they did a really good job of kind of insulating me and getting us, so I think UT was a really good fit.
That's
Wisconsin,
awesome.
Wisconsin, they recruited me the year they photoshopped a black person on their college brochure. So my dad was like, "Yeah, no, we're not." They got caught like that's what my dad was like, "Yeah, you're not gonna go there." So I didn't even go on their official visit because it was just like my dad was like, "No," but yeah, like UT was a good fit. I think it was a good fit. It was where I needed to be in order to access what I needed to.
Now they weren't as a winning of a team as they are now then. What was that experience like in as far as the training and the competition?
I mean, Carrie Graves was brutal, I think, but similar to Boston, I think, she made you fight. And I think, we had to train in a way I had never trained before.
Mm,
We had to work in a way I had never worked before. I thought I knew what hard work was. I had no idea.
really?
Just the brutalness that we put our bodies through. I think it really unlocked something. I'm definitely built differently for sure. And I think part of it is because, she just did not care, and every day she woke up and she took everything you had and you had to leave it out on the water and leave it in the weight room and leave it on the hills and leave it on the stadiums. And yeah, like I think it was just an insane amount of work. And I think, you never know what you can do until you push yourself to your limits. You never know what you're capable
Mhm.
of. Take yourself to your limits. I think, everything I did in college prepared me for being an entrepreneur for sure.
Mm.
Just, getting knocked down, getting back up, getting hit in the face, getting back down, getting back up. I think learning to pivot, this just working all the time. Yeah, I think I definitely learned a lot how to survive and just the brutal amount of work entrepreneurship really is. I think people don't talk about that. Now I have this like body of work that I can say, everyone can say, "Oh my gosh, BLJ Community Rowing," I said, but it's like you weren't there whenever,
Right.
I had whenever I had no boats. You didn't work there when I lost every single boat, and I had to had to build everything back up. And you weren't there whenever I lost it all again.
Wait a second, what do you mean by
Right.
that?
I had 2 floods. I lost everything again, and I had to build that back up. You weren't there in the middle of the night whenever I'm, like, out there watching, you know what I mean? So it's like, don't so I love this whole, movement now about diverse. I'm like, "Listen, like, you don't." I just spoke on I had to speak on a panel and, I love that Jeep quote that's like, don't try to follow me. You're not tough enough, because it's just the truth. Like, it's just, I really like, I look at these kids these days and, yeah, like, I'm just like, you have no idea. You literally have no idea whenever I lost everything twice and I was still going to the river because that's just what I would do and just sit there and just try to figure out what my next move was going to be and, or how it is to like, people be laughing at you because it's just like she doesn't know what she's doing. She's not gonna make it. A Bullhouse Row was right there. You know what I mean? Like I remember.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? She's laughing, like, and so now people are like, "Oh my gosh, BLJ." I'm like, "You, sweetheart, you have no idea what I've been through and what we've been through as a community." And I think that some people realize like how close we are, and it's because we have been in Fort Fire, the bonds forged in fire. We have been through it. So, like if you step if you step on our dock and you step sideways and people will come out of the woodwork to check you before I even have to. You know, like
Mm.
that's how close we are. But yeah, like I mean, it's been a wonderful, wonderful journey, but it has been really incredibly hard. It's been thankless. You know,
Mm.
people have come and copied our stuff and I said thank you. People come and use our stuff and don't say thank, and then it's like, oh my gosh, BLJ is the first black, and it's like, yeah, but BLJ, we've been here for 15, 20 years. Yeah, we have been through the ringer.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I think of with what we've built, I think we'll be here for another 15 for sure.
I love it. I love it. I definitely hope so. Well, what is, have you had that experience of, well, being there for 15 years? I'm sure you have, but tell me about an experience where you've trained a kid that has been with your program and they've either gone off to high school or gotten recruited to college and came back and talked about that, how being with the program helped them to prepare for that experience.
So we haven't really had anybody yet. I mean, Marcus is probably was our first kid. I didn't want to work with kids.
Oh.
So I built my program. I didn't want to work with kids. And then when I saw that I was going to have to work with kids, I pushed it really far back on the agenda because I think I knew the amount of resources that I was going to need in order to work with
Mm,
kids. So
mhm.
I really spent 10 to 12 years just building my adult program.
Oh,
And then
okay.
after that, I added kids late, and I'm so glad I waited. I'm such a
Okay.
different woman. I'm such a different coach. I'm a different leader. I think, we have the bandwidth for them now where they can really, we enjoy them and they enjoy us. Okay. They don't enjoy me, but that's fine. I don't care. But they love me. They don't enjoy me. But they love Marcus. They love him and they enjoy him because he's the
Is
fun.
he there now?
Yeah, Marcus. So Marcus came to me, baby Marcus. Oh my God. He was like freshman in college and I just gave him a job, gave him job coaching and we kind of worked side by side, really building out the program. And then,
Mm,
he went on to train and then he went to coach at University of Washington and then he was in Waco and now he's back. So he's the
right.
high performance coach at Vesper. And then he's
Oh,
coaching,
okay.
yeah, and then he's coaching for me. So the boys love him. My master, everybody loves him. So, it's really nice having him home.
Yeah.
He's just such a part of my family and such a part of, so I would say he's probably the longest trajectory of a
Okay.
kid. Really, I really took my time signing on for kids because it's like, it's getting Ubers. It's, checking in with parents. It's, oh, this family doesn't have food. So that means we're going to the market and dropping off a box of food. It's, checking grades and somebody just got suspended yesterday. So I'm in a meeting with an AD and it's, one of my kids has a language barrier. So I'm talking to his mom and, we really are very hands on, we take them
Mhm.
travel with them. The first time they leave Philadelphia is usually with us. And,
Mm.
but it's a lot of work. It's an incredible lift and it's absolutely worth it. I'm really glad I waited and now I have a team and now,
Mhm.
we have a really wonderful kind of, bubble that we can build around these kids and give and incubate them, for a little bit from the world and let them kind of gather their thoughts and
Mm.
remember who they are outside of what anybody else thinks and teach them how to work hard and, really show them, how to extract what you need out of life. And I think that that's
Man.
the best thing that I can teach them.
That's powerful. So I did not know that you didn't start working with children. What was your goal in working with masters? What were you trying to build originally?
So I just think originally it was just I wanted to start a business. I wanted to start a I wanted to start well, I'm third generation entrepreneur. So so business is in my family, we're all self-employed. I wanted to start a business. I wanted to do something different from Bill House Row. I think the masters are when the masters program is the bread and butter, right? That's who makes the money. That's where the money comes from. And if you look at any boathouse, that's where the money comes from. I think that a lot of boathouses struggle because the masters are like, "Oh, well, I'm paying, so therefore I should have this." And
Mhm.
I don't play none of that. Like, if that's how you want to roll, you go right on down to Bahus Road. You're not going to row here. So around us, our masters do pay, but our kids come first. So I love it. Like if practice is running late, nobody's walking around and stomping because their single isn't available. If anything, they're on the dock because they want to talk to the boys and be like, hey, how was practice? I brought you some pretzels. You know what I mean? And my masters feed the kids.
Mm,
They are setting up dinner while, the kids are coming in. And then
I
the
love
masters
that.
go out and the kids eat dinner and then go home. So yeah, like it's really wonderful. And when I take a minute, which I don't do it often enough, to like take a step back and just look at a time, whenever we don't really have a lot to believe in. I think I really love just the rhythm and the closeness and the humanity of like what we've built. It's really special for sure.
Yeah. Now, do the kids understand your background and what you had to go to get to where you are, not just with your business, but just in life, the struggles that it took and the traveling around the world? Is that something that they're looking forward to, or do they just, okay, you're our coach and.
Yeah, I think I'm just Coach B. I mean, I think, we were speaking earlier, there's a level of celebrity I just don't aspire to. I think, yeah, you're not gonna find me on too many podcasts and too many podiums. You're gonna find me at practice.
Mhm.
And that's where I can really get my hands in the mix and really create change and really create sustainable change. I think it's more important for me, for my kids to understand that diversity is not equity
Mm.
and it's important. So those are lessons my kids are teaching. I'm so not enamored with them lowing. I think maybe every once in a while they'll Google, D Banks is a really good friend. So I mean every once in a while they'll Google, but like they're just I'm just Coach B. But
But
I
the opportunities that rowing has afforded you, I mean, is that
I
something
think
that they like?
I spend more time with I want them to understand that rowing is a vehicle to a better life.
Okay,
And, I spend time around asking them like what they want out of life. I think that that's important. That's our writing prompts that we have. And it's like, what do you want? Because I think, you can't just, you have to put it to words too, right? Like I think sometimes we
right.
expect kids to just know what do you want to be when you grow up, right? Like I didn't know, I had no idea that this was going to be my life. I
Mhm.
knew that I wanted to live a big life. I knew I wanted to really, I want to live a meaningful life. I wanted people's lives to be better because I was alive. And I think that, in a very circuitous route, I think I've landed right on there. But,
That's
we're
awesome.
we're working with them on defining their definition of success and understanding your definition of successful change over time. And what
Right.
was successful to me back in my high school days versus my college days versus now in my, mid 40s, it has changed. And
Mhm.
but I think, really the mental toughness, I think the mental clarity of, but we're working with like these, inner city boys who this is the first time where they're having to really explain this and, you know,
Mm.
talk about this. So yeah, it's a long process. It really is. But to answer your question, I think they don't understand my past, not at all. And I don't even think they spend any time there. I think, when I step on a dock, they pretty much go running because I'm usually using bad language and I'm usually pissed. They love Coach Marcus. Marcus coaches twice a week, so they're like, "Oh my gosh, is this Coach Marcus's day?" Yes.
Now, is it only boys, or do you work with girls as
I
well?
work with girls as well, but right now I've got all boys. So right now,
Mm.
this summer, and I'm getting a lot of pressure because I have a lot of Black moms calling me because they just love the program. But it's like I like to undercommit and overdeliver. I will open it up over the summer.
Okay.
So we'll let more kids in, but right now I'm only at Girard College and Boys Latin.
Oh,
So
so you go through the school.
mhm. So those are
Okay.
the only 2 schools.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, one of the reasons why I thought about that is because I work in the South Dallas area at schools, under resource schools. And, most of the kids, well, no, all of the kids I'll say this, I don't have any black kids on my team right now that I coach on the water, middle school. And so I have videos of girls, like I'll ask them to do reels and stuff for the organization, like, well, what do you like about sport? Why, rowing, why should someone join and all of that? And I've been talking to some of the college girls, black girls in braid about doing a video because, if you see her, you can be her. And that's why I was asking as far as like them knowing your past, because I'm sure that they don't see many other black people outside of BLJ, right? So if they see other people, maybe they'll think, oh, okay, that's something I could do. Because people, like I said, a lot of people still, I'm the only black person that they know that rows, in 2026. And it's like, no, there's a lot of us, but not that many in comparison to others. But if more of the kids that at least in the schools that I work with, if they saw other people that look like them rowing, then it'll be like, I think that they'll be a little bit more attracted to it. Because, like you said, it's tough being the only, and people want to be where their friends are and where they're comfortable and all of that. So I was just wondering about the girls if you worked with
Yeah,
girls.
yeah, we definitely work with girls too. I think our kids are spoiled just because, like I'm black, my coaches are black. My dad drives the kids back and forth. My mentors are black. Like, I think, they, my kids are absolutely spoiled because we're intergenerationally black for sure.
I
So,
love it.
they're
Absolutely
getting,
love it.
they're helping my black masters get their quad out for sure. Like they're very spoiled in that instance for sure. But, we're not like a massive youth program either because I definitely don't want that. You know what I mean? I don't want to be this huge, rowing mecca. I want to be very strategic, very intimate, very structured, and very fast. So, yeah, we're here to get results. And yeah, which is why I'm gonna run out of here because we're out there every day putting strokes together to get better. And, my dad always says, when the truth is told, there's no more questions. So I think,
Mm.
when I'm coaching, I'm always looking for answers, right? And, I think, now I can actually stand to tend to be where, so when I'm out there on my launch or, coaching, I'm looking for answers, you know what I mean? And, when I look around and it's like, if you don't have the answers, that's okay. That's really okay. But get out of my way.
Right.
Yeah, because, I'm gonna, because we're driving this thing forward. The kids are getting better. My adults are getting better. Like, and everyone's getting better. And I think that's worth every, missed, every hardship, heartache, heartbreak, everything is watching this, really phenomenal sort of community get better every day, learn how to work together, how to live together. I love watching the masters like check in on the kids' race times and, oh my gosh, Jabril did this, and you know what I mean? Like it's really wonderful.
It yeah, really sounds I love that community and culture that you've built. Do the masters ever race?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so my master's in race as well. It's just I'm not as serious. I'm not. I'm so, I think, and Marcus makes fun of me because, he's just like, you're such an elitist. It's like, you know what I mean? Like I think, because I did race in college, you're just like, oh, I don't race. I still train in my single. But that's just so I can beat up on my kids. That's really all it is. I think you can't lead where you don't go. So I get in my single every season, and I'm in my single 3-4 times a week
I love
training.
that. That's awesome.
But, and I still never wanna be a fat coach, you know what I'm saying? I never wanna be that coach just, like, on a launch, like, coaching over their belly, beer belly, just, like,
Right, right, right.
you know what I mean? I
That's
would
one of
always.
the things that I say, I love that I get to actually practice what I preach.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
not that I'm just coaching, I'm actually getting coached as well
yeah.
and rowing on my own? So I love
And
that.
we all row singles, so it's nice too because Marcus is still in his so, like, we'll definitely hop in the books and, whip up on the kids. Beating coach is a goal. It should be because 'cause I'm not slow. I'm slowing
Right.
down. I am 43, but, if I get out ahead, you're gonna struggle to pass me. That's for sure. But, yeah, like, I think it's important to practice what you preach. I think it's important to, live in proximity to the work. I enjoy getting better too. You think I learned just as much from coaching as I do from anything else. I really think coaching is about listening. I think,
Mhm.
yeah, I think it's really an honor to kind of sit in the leadership seat of this organization and kind of drive it forward and chart a course that's going to outlive me, really. I really take pride in that, as when I'm dead and gone, I really think that the people coming up behind me are they're gonna do a phenomenal job.
Now that leads me into a question about legacy. What is it that you want? What kind of legacy do you want to leave with you?
I think intergenerational Blackness for sure.
Mm,
I think, I love that my advisory board is Black. I love that, my coaches are Black. I love that my kids are Black. I love my masters are Black. Intergenerational Blackness for sure. I think a lot of these diversity organizations, it's like they've got Black kids or they can't find Black adults. And I know that people are like, granted, I've been asked to consult and they'll have one or two Black masters. And it's like, how did you? And it's like, because I took the time, you have to take the time. You can't just hang a sign and think they're going to show up. You have to build a
right.
relationship. And then I think that's something we do really well. We're definitely intergenerationally, but I think that's part of a legacy I want to leave. And also just a level of work ethic and excellence. I really love, so because some of these diversity organizations, it's like they've got Black kids, but the board is all white. And
Mhm.
or you know what I mean? They've got and it's like, no, like, whenever we have a problem, our advisory board is all Black, and I really love, we were just at a race. We were at a regatta, we were racing, and the boys are walking with their singles on their heads and their blades, and, these 2 Black kids were rowing in the life vest, and they were like, and it's like, yeah, no, we're very serious, and we look exactly like the athletes that we are, and we're not cutting corners, and I'm not shoving you out, and if you're not ready to race, then you won't race, and I don't have the pressure of outcomes where it's like, oh my gosh, I have to have like, I need 50 kids and I need 10 kids. No, it's like we can take our time as with anything with growth, right? Is we can take our time, we can cultivate them in an environment that is beneficial for them long term. And it's really lovely to sit back and just watch them grow. You know, they're really it's one of life's greatest joys, I think, to just sit on your launch and watch a kid that didn't know port from starboard, get in a single and just take off. And,
Mm,
his phone is locked up. He's on his phone, she's not worried about her classes. She's not worried about getting home. She's worried about beating the boys, right? Like, it's just watching everybody kind
right.
of this really wonderful time. And I think that's special. I really think that's special. I think, when I'm dead and gone, I hope that people will remember BLJ community as just a place for Black people to row and be together, work hard together, get fast together, and live well together.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. When people do ask you about getting more Black people into the sport,
Mhm.
what would you say is the biggest challenge for others, and maybe for you too, in getting Black people? I mean, do you help with rowing lessons? Because that's one of the things that I say rowing lessons, swimming lessons. That's one of the first things that people say. Oh, I don't know how to swim. How does that work? And how do you deal with that barrier?
I mean, I help with everything. So yeah, we work with Nile Swim Club. We just joined them. I help with everything. I think it's not there's no blanket answer. You have to take
Mhm.
the case as it comes, and deal with each case as it comes. I think, somebody may not be able to swim, so you help them learn how to swim. Somebody may just have a fear of water. I've learned, but and you don't really need to know how to swim. I think another thing too is like white people are like, oh my gosh, you can't swim. You have to pass a swim test, which is like this, and this. No, it's are you water competent?
Right, right, right.
Change the language around that. Like, I'm not standing here, right? Like, I'd like, no, I need you to not die. Can you get in the water and stay alive? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like, but whenever you throw them into this, like, I need you to swim without touching the bottom. I need you to do that, right? Like, they get overwhelmed. And so I think changing some of that around is great. I think, but I also take it as a case by case. I think you'd be surprised. Oh, it's like Jenga, you got to build it one thing at a time. You have to get out there. You gotta figure out what that specific case is, solve that
Mhm.
problem, and then move on to the next. So I really don't have, and I love when people are like people ask that question because it's like I don't all black people are the monolith,
Right, right,
we're not.
right.
Like, it's not just like, oh my gosh, if you just play rap music, you know what I mean, from 9 to noon every day, they're gonna come. It's like, come on, Carol. I don't even want to talk to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, how, like, of course they're not coming. They're not coming. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
They want to come and like be the only person, only black person in here. No, they don't want to do that. And it's like, oh, like we hung a flyer. White people love a flyer, don't they? Hung a flyer. They're not coming.
A flyer with no black people on it at that.
No,
I just feel like,
man, it's just like, and then like, and then their events are so stiff. Like, oh, like we're having a mixer. Like, what? You know what I mean? So you're just gonna stand there with your one glass of Chardonnay and like rub elbows with each other and be asked a million times what you do for a living? Like, you guys, yeah, no, they're not coming. They're not coming.
right.
I'll say that right now.
You know what? I want to go back to something that you said earlier, and it
I'm so
relates to
I have
this.
to
You
I
said,
gotta go soon, so
okay,
go ahead.
diversity doesn't mean equity. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Say it again one more time.
Diversity doesn't mean equity.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the PG version. Hold on. I think, I think we're seeing it a little bit today with, and I'm sorry to your listeners, I'm sick. So I'm washing my nose. I think we're seeing a lot of it unravel today, right? Like a lot of DEI initiatives are unraveling, under this administration. But I think diversity, is an equity. And I think that's why I really was adamant about buying my boats. I own everything. I think, I wanted to build an organization that did not exist off of the breast milk of white guilt.
Mm,
And I think, whenever you try, like, and I think that's why I didn't want to be this huge organization. Like, we own everything. And I'm incredibly proud of that. At the same time, my kids walk different. My
yeah.
man walks different. We're a Black organization where Black men are participating, right? It's like, I think when you go to these diversity, when you see a lot of white women, a lot of Black kids, you don't see Black men that are getting in boats. You don't see Black men that are working there, and you don't see Black men that are participating. My dad is talking to my kids' dads. Like, no,
Mm,
we got it. This is what I was running. This is what I was coaching her on back in high school. So my dad's talking to my dad, my kids' dads, my master,
I
like that.
love that.
That's the thing, right? Like, and it's not, and when Black men are present, it's not politically correct. And, you're going to hear some stuff and they're going to hurt your feelings and you're going to have to, you know what I mean? But like, this isn't like, and white women, I have had to walk out because it's like, if you're offended, that's a you problem.
Right.
Right? But like, your dollars don't matter more than our mission. But what I love is I don't owe you. You didn't donate. You don't contribute to my budget. So diversity is not because I have equity. So you know what I mean? Sorry, Sue. You can go ahead on it. You know what I
I
mean?
love it.
And I think that that's a really good lesson for my kids. There was an incident where, somebody said the N-word. I don't know. It was like one of these, like, I'm going to say this, one of the organizations that, like, I guess they commentate on the regattas, and somebody
Mhm.
said N-word was like, like nigga what or something. I don't know. And everybody blew up. And I was like, oh my gosh, social media was blowing up. I was like, Brannon, like, is BLJ going to say anything? And I was like, no. And they were like, one of my coaches, she's so passionate. Oh my gosh. Like, so I was like, girl. She was like, well, it's not the time for us to be quiet. You know what I mean? And I was like, it's time for you to be quiet for sure. Because, one, do we own the commentating company? No. Do we own the regatta? No. Do we own, like, what do we own around this incident? Right? Nothing. Okay. Now, I said, no, I want to reframe this for you. If somebody comes on our dock and says,
Right.
now, what do you think is going to happen? Right?
That part.
Like, yeah, because yes, right now, we have never had an issue. Right? It has never happened. I got two words. I dare you. Right? So now they were like, and the kids, it was really cool to see the kids. They were like, oh, right, because we own we own this. So now we're not going around being like, oh my gosh, please care, like please treat us well. No. It's about equity over here. You know what I'm saying? They ain't know about you said 2 feet at BLJ Community. You won't even try. Right? But it's like, because it's power. I said, and that's what I want us to understand, the difference between likability, progress, and power. Right? So
Mm,
I need you to understand, right? So like, now we're having a different conversation. As long as we're
right.
on their turf where they own everything, right now we're in a position of asking and begging and please, please, please. Whenever we switch it, right, where we've taken the time to make sure we own everything, make sure we build it out the way we built it out. We know who's getting checks over here. Everybody who collects a check from BLJ is Black. Now it's a different conversation. Now people come in, they're very respectful,
Right.
right?
Have a totally different posture. Mhm.
Completely different posture, right? I'm not walking around saying nothing. I say, please, by all means, come and try it. I look forward to the endeavor. I feel sorry. I'm so sorry, and I'm be mad because I won't even be. I'm probably be out on the water. I'm gonna be late to the. I'm gonna be late to it, but like you wouldn't even. You know what I mean? And I think that's really
Yeah,
lovely, right? Like that's the lesson we want to teach our kids of like diversity is not equity. Equity. Listen,
yeah,
what do we own? Where is the power coming from? And how are we holding our seat at the table?
love it, love it, love it. Well, I know you gotta get to practice. We
Okay.
could talk for hours, and I know you don't like podcasts, but I thank you so much for coming on.
No
I wanna
problem.
ask you,
Yeah.
when would you say that you were in your flow state? Because it's the Elevated Flow Podcast, and I know you're working 15, 18 hours a day.
Yeah.
When would you say that you sit back, or maybe it's on the water? When would you say that you are in your flow state?
Probably when I'm in my single. Yeah, I
Yeah.
have a really big 5:30 AM practice, so usually I'm in my single by, like, 6:37 before my, like, 9, 10, and 11, and I think, like, I cheat a little bit. I like to I wear my headphones. I throw my headphones in, and, yeah, I really love just cruising and, like, checking in with that's time for me to check in, like, just not as a coach, but just as a woman. You know,
Mm, I love it.
I have a lot of responsibility, I am a big sister and, I have a big family. We all are very close. I'm one of 5. So I do a lot, but I think, I really all of the roles kind of fall away and it's just me and, those 2 words, am I single? And the single's always been a place of peace for me because I feel like when you shove off that dock, you leave everything on the dock.
Absolutely.
It'll be there when you get back. All your worries, all your problems, it'll all be there when you get back. So just take I think that's my singles practice has always been a place for me to kind of just escape into myself for a little bit.
Awesome. And I'm glad that you do that at least 3 times a week. That's
I do,
awesome.
usually 4 if the weather's holding, but yeah, I really love getting my single. I'm also getting older, so I can't run as much, and it's just, you can always get in your single, you
Yeah.
know now that we're getting into summer where the kids are gonna be wanting to do these 500-meter races to see if they can beat me. I'm mad a couple of them are gonna get me, but I'll hold out for as long as I can. But
Right.
yeah, I think the single is really just is definitely a place of peace for me for sure.
Awesome, awesome. Well, you know what? I'm gonna let you go. I
Okay,
appreciate you. I really
no
do.
problem.
So you said you're not on social media. You have something. BLJ is somewhere on social media. Where can people find you or
Yep, we're on social
follow?
BLJ Community, and then BLJcommunity.rowing.com is, our website for sure.
Okay. All right. Well, this is Coach Flo signing off. Thank you guys for joining us. Remember to find your zone and elevate your flow. Peace.
1, 2.